September, is it September already? How'd that happen? September 9th, 2024 meeting of the Grafton Planning Board. We'll begin the meeting with a roll call of the members since one member is participating remotely. Mr. Wood,
Present.
Mr. Hassinger,
I'm here.
Mr. Venkatraman,
Here.
Mr. Robbins is here, obviously. Staff with us is planner Fiona Coughlin
Present.
and assistant planner Natalia Allward.
Assistant.
Natalia is officially assistant planner now.
Yes. Yes. That was going to be part of my staff.
Hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Shit. I don't. Did you call Greg?
I did not call our associate member, Mr. Dalamole.
Here.
Thank you for reminding me, Justin. Alrighty. We'll begin with our usual first agenda item is public input. If there is anybody present who wishes to raise a matter with the planning board that is not otherwise on the agenda, now would be the time to raise your hand either in the room or on Zoom. Seeing none, we'll move to our action item agenda. We have one action item, the draft decision on the request for a special permit and site plan approval.
That's us.
What was that?
That was the applicant.
That was probably the applicant. Anyway, special permit site plan approval, 160R Upton Street from Dish Wireless. We have before us a draft decision.
I think I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I think Fiona had a couple of questions for the board. I had one in finding 14, isotrope got accidentally spelled isotope in the draft decision. Isotope is in the dictionary, isotrope is not. So a spell check probably could have easily, autocorrect would have changed it, quite possibly. Anyway,
Looks correct now.
all right, so unless anybody has any specific questions or, Fiona had a couple of items for the board.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. So this draft, I finalized and sent over to our consultant, Dave Maxon of Isotrope Wireless, to review to make sure that I was understanding this correctly, based on our prior, co-location applications. I feel like I'm kind of becoming a bit of an expert at this stage, but it's never going to be fully perfect. So finding 13, I flagged just the fact that we've had a prior special permit application where we've just made a note of this, that, it was a separate instance, but with the federal regulations, being what they are and very complicated, I kind of out of an abundance of caution included it for the board to consider. I flagged it for David, and David said, basically, I won't summarize his very well thought out long comment and just say that the completeness review is optional. So the finding in this instance is optional. So can keep it, can delete it.
Keep it.
Yeah, I'm happy with leaving it in.
Okay.
Even if it's arguably not essential, it does not detract, and it potentially answers questions that someone conceivably might have.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
I'm good with that.
In addition to that, I flagged. David left a comment in that I wanted the board to review and kind of deliberate on it. Exhibit C, so the RF report. Excuse me, which is actually exhibit. Which number is that? The RF report in the record is probably exempt from being a requirement of this submission, but was submitted voluntarily by the applicant regardless. So he's just making a point of that, and that it should and is exempt from being considered in an approval. The other requirements, or exhibits rather, appear to be justifiable. So I think he's just a point of clarification being made there.
I might suggest, based on his mention there, that we just take out the last sentence in finding 29. That we're not finding that it satisfies or does not satisfy the requirements because it's not required.
Which finding are we?
This is finding 29.
This one right here.
I'm thinking just the last sentence might be worth taking out.
Sorry, I know it's kind of small.
At the applicant. Yeah, and is that a sentence? That the applicant, as described, blah, 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 blah.
The board further
That the
finds-
applicant, as described within the exhibits, are not.
Which one you reading?
I can't parse that sentence. Then I never was very good at that.
This is the sentence
Uh,
here.
To me, I think that it reads appropriately with Justin's suggestion of, since as an EFR, it is not required to satisfy the requirements of section 584A, we're noting that they did submit something responsive to that section, but that it was not a required submission.
So just remove that, strike that.
Move the last sentence. Yep.
Okay, sure.
That works.
Perfect. And I think there's one. Nope. Oh, we already covered this one. Sorry. Sometimes the comments make me. There's just a question that I had for the board. The applicant requested a waiver specifically in their narrative from section 5.8.4E and 5.8.6.1, but they don't apply in this instance. So I made a finding to that effect, and I can update the the waiver section accordingly. But if it doesn't apply, I don't know if it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, in this
Calling out.
case here, there's no need for the board to grant a waiver.
Right.
I know there's been some decisions in the past where the applicant has requested waivers that we don't need to grant at all because it ended up not being needed, but we've listed them in here as denial because they're not needed. But I could go either way as long as we're consistent with the decision. Internally consistent. I don't mind one way or the other as far as
If I may, if that's consistent with what's been done in the past, it's very, very happy to just put those in there.
I mean, I'm kind of thinking, I'm not remembering all of necessarily how we've always done this in the past, but if the waiver is not applicable, the board needs to take, does not need to take any action
Right.
to either grant or deny. I mean, if the waiver is not applicable, denying it is kind of, it sounds awkward.
fair. Yeah, and my memory is to one decision. I don't know which one it was, so I don't know if it's a consistent thing we've done. It's just a
Okay.
no.
No one else. Okay, so just so we'll leave it out.
Yeah, no action,
Okay.
we took no action on the waiver requests that were not applicable,
Okay.
or the request for the waiver of items that are not applicable to the application.
It's a mouthful. I get you though.
Off the top of my head, I don't know the best way to word it, but in essence, is the applicant requested waivers for items that are not relevant to the application.
Okay. Okay. And almost done. So this is kind of the continuing issue that we run into with slightly outdated wireless bylaw. Technology is advancing, and we are requirement of panel antenna height is outdated, and Dave Maxon always recommends going up to 8 feet so that, you know, if they had to come back, you know, this wouldn't be a reason they would have to come back before the board because it aligns with
Right.
current.
Yeah, I'd go with David's recommendation that
My-
even though their antennas as currently proposed are 6 feet,
Right.
there would be the potential in the future, you know, 8 feet is a fairly common antenna height, which is, I think, David's point.
My only question on this condition is it says per waiver 8 of the decision.
That was a, I think. Sorry, let me jump. Yes, that's number 8. I think that we're probably going to end up just based on changing this anyway, if the board is agreeable to 8 feet.
I'm okay with 8 feet. I just wanted to. I saw the waiver pointed out, and I wanted us to call it.
Just strike it.
I wanted to call it that it says per waiver 8. So we can just leave it. Panel antennas shall be no more than 8 feet in height. It's probably good enough for me.
All right. Lastly, so for condition 12, I just had a comment about that it could be removed as we discussed during the hearing. They're not providing a generator that requires backup power or anything like that, but I do find that this is something that's advantageous to the planning department and the building department, because we've had instances in the past where if things change hands or whatever, and sometimes maintenance falls to the wayside. I did bring it up to the during the public hearing, as I mentioned, and you know, it's just something that I suggest, but it's really the board's call, and we do have kind of a standardized, very short, like, operation and maintenance, what we look for. We're just kind of wanting to make sure that for public safety reasons, all the bases are covered, which I'm sure they are.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have. I mean, this, you know, there will be minimal, you know, minimal activity, minimal operations and maintenance activity.
Right.
But nevertheless, to document what that activity might be, it's worthwhile.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, you know, the applicant Dish made a point to say, you know, they don't own the tower, so they aren't really responsible for the site maintenance, which is fine. I just think it's like something memorialized to that effect that the building department can always reference is important.
They're responsible for their own equipment on the site, and that's it.
Correct. Yes, right.
Yeah,
So that was
and I would expect them not to be visiting visiting the site often to maintain their equipment, but on occasion might be.
right.
That's another reason why, for them it's kind of minimal, but you know, it's just to document what they will be doing for operations and maintenance.
Yeah.
As little as it may be.
Right. And that's all I had.
Anybody have anything else? I will note for the record, as we are approaching the time to actually vote on this, that I will officially and formally designate the associate member to vote on this special permit decision. Yeah, being as how there are only four regular board members eligible to vote, and the associate member was present for all sessions of the hearing, throughout the hearing, I should say.
Okay.
Yes?
Is the raised hand feature working? I'm not sure it is.
I just saw Justin raising his hand and lowering it.
Mine works.
Okay. Oh, there it goes. Okay, it wasn't working before. Sorry.
Ah,
Could I say something?
yes.
Okay. The reason the waivers are there is because we require when anybody files a special permit that they always file the waiver request form with it. So I'm thinking those are the waivers that they requested. So for any special permit, except for signs, we've always required a waiver form, even if it didn't totally make sense.
Yep. Which is to say the applicant did request a couple of waivers but, and yes, that happens occasionally. A waiver is requested and it turns out it wasn't really applicable, or occasionally they request waiver, but it turns out they don't really need it. But yeah, documenting all the requested waivers.
Okay.
And the disposition of the requested waivers.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, I am going to memorialize that they requested a waiver from those two sections.
Yes.
Yes, okay, great.
Yeah, memorialize that they requested a waiver and that the board determined that no action was required on the waiver.
Got it.
But yeah, this isn't the only time we've seen waivers requested that turn out to be either unneeded or not relevant. But yes, as Natalia said, there is a form. They go through and check off all the waivers they think they might need.
That's correct. But so, the waivers that we called out are not waivers from general site plan procedure, but the point still stands. I will do that.
All right. Anything else?
I move that we approve this decision and make all the appropriate favorable findings and such as we've discussed and edits as we've discussed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion of the motion? No discussion of the motion. We'll call for a vote. Mr. Wood?
Aye.
Mr. Hassan?
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman?
Aye.
Mr. Dalamore?
Aye.
Dalamole? And Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. Make sure the signature line includes the associate's signature, which I noticed was missing in the draft.
Yes.
All right, the special permit is approved. Staff will push the paperwork through the pipeline.
Yes.
And with that, that is our action item agenda for this evening. Under discussion items A and B have to do with replacing the member who resigned on a couple of, as the board's representative to a couple of places. Along with that, we'll need to, since Andrea was our clerk, we'll need to, once we get a new regular member appointed in October, we can then take care of filling all the positions that Andrea previously, so we don't need to act on those tonight. And the third discussion item is consideration of holding a special town meeting for accessory dwelling unit amendments.
I don't think so.
If you want to can explain why that popped up on the agenda, and I suspect we are all in agreement that we don't really need to pursue that.
Sure.
Trying to do something like a zoning in a special town meeting. Special town meetings are not all that popular.
Yes.
They
Yes.
cost and in any number of ways, they don't get the representation.
Right. Yeah, and I agree, Bob. I think, there's been a lot, obviously, the board will recall, like, the housing bond bill and the changes that are proposed coming into effect as of February 2025. I think that there's been a lot of dialogue in the planning and building inspector world about how to kind of handle the fact that this legislation is less than a month old and there's no bite at the apple to have any sort of kind of local control beyond what's already in place for fall town meeting, and February is before the spring town meeting. So, talking to our interim building inspector, she had raised some, concerns that, neighboring communities have had and her meetings, and just flagged it for my attention. I said, I responded saying, happy to kind of have that discussion with the board. It's highly unlikely considering the cost, the legwork that's involved, with a special town meeting. They're not well attended. And just, if I can just briefly just, my conversations with planners in the area, with town council, and other, kind of folks that are kind of sleeping and breathing this all the time. The state, as we discussed, the state is going to be issuing guidance, and council really hasn't had a chance to pick this apart. Again, it's a month old, and we're still kind of working through the kinks of the requirements of the bill, and the impact. There's a lot of communities that are going to have to significantly rewrite or add an ADU bylaw, and with resources that we know are coming, I think it's the best way to kind of approach it, and that a lot of planners, especially Central Mass planners, are doing, is to just see what they come up with, and then take it kind of head on at May town meeting next year. Because you also run the risk of, I understand like concerns about trying to kind of get ahead of the requirements, but towns run the risk of taking that on without further guidance from the state, and then having to go back and fix what was done in May again, which is a waste of time and resources if you're doing a special town meeting. So, I think the building inspectors are going to be bearing the brunt of the new law. So I can't really complain as a planner too much, but I want to be cognizant of their, of the concerns, and put it on the agenda.
We've been kind of towards the leading edge of a number of these responses to new developments. This one doesn't strike me as, I think maybe we might let one or two other towns get it wrong first.
My view on this is that, come early February, the state law comes into effect, which says accessory dwelling units meeting the criteria laid out in the law, they become allowable by right, with essentially few, if any, restrictions. And at the time, on the day that comes into effect, many towns will find conflicts between that and their local bylaws. Presumably, and this is where guidance from the state will be essential, is that until towns revise bylaws for consistency with that, some of the town bylaws will basically be unenforceable. But we're not the only town that's going to face that, and I'm perfectly happy to wait for the state's guidance on that, and for us to take advantage of the opportunity maybe in May to update our bylaw.
Yeah. It's probably not gonna surface most places until someone applies under the provisions of the new law. Most places aren't most towns I don't think are quite as, out there keeping an eye on Beacon Hill.
Yeah, no,
I think I'm in agreement. The only other point I have is I would not be surprised if at least one or more towns in the Commonwealth also have a challenge to the courts with regards to this law, because of similar challenges we've seen facing other housing initiatives in the legislature.
Now, that's another good thought. Wouldn't want to change the bylaw and then have the courts
Yep.
change things.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, I think it's great that we're having this conversation, kind of continuing to have it, even if we, if the board agrees to not pursue a special town meeting. We're kind of keeping the dialogue open. I know this is definitely something that's come up. It's a lot, it's kind of a gray area for folks, members of the public who want to learn more. So it's just a good thing that we're continuing to talk about it. I think, and just try and.
I'll make a motion if necessary.
I think
I move we table.
Yeah.
I think we are in fierce agreement that we
we've,
do not want a special
We've
permit.
considered, we've done what it says, we've considered.
We've considered it, we've talked
right.
about it.
Now, we have bills that I move we authorize the payment of.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we pay our bills. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Wood,
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger,
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman,
Aye.
Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. We do not have any minutes of previous meetings. We have 4 minutes. Is that enough time for a staff report, or would you
I can
rather
do a
take-
staff report in 4 minutes, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the board is probably kind of sick and tired of me, saying that I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I would like to the long range projects, but we're really focused. We're really kind of focused on the day to day stuff that really is a priority. We're getting continuous applications, and that's been our focus. We do have town elections are coming up on September 24th, and we'll be able to kind of get some more clarity after town elections about certain procedures. We do have a joint meeting with the select board that for the associate member. I'm sorry, the open planning board member position. So I just wanted to state that for the record. That's going to be held on October 1st. We are. I think the public. I'll give a brief summary of the projects, the kind of because the day-to-day admin stuff. I think that everyone on the board is aware of what's going on there. But we're trying to finalize the wayfinding grant project. We're hoping to have one more meeting with the advisory committee with the consultant Favorman Design to choose some options to present to the select board, and the select board will ultimately vote on those. Select board date to be determined. Advisory committee date is the 16th of September. I'm happy to provide more information to anybody who's interested, either members of the public or the board. The Fisherville Dam design and permitting grant we received is moving along. We did receive our a negative determination for a request for determination of applicability, which is a good thing in the Concom world, which is great. We'll have to go back before Concom at a later date once progress with borings and monitoring wells is furthered. The Wi-Fi hotspots project is kind of stuck at the moment. I'm continuing to circle back to that. Comtrack, our consultant, is busy, as well as CMD, who's kind of the software side of it. I did have a call with representatives from both of those companies to kind of talk through some kinks, but overall the project should be moving forward. I have a couple of technical questions about for the TA's office before I circle back with Comtract, but I'm happy to, Bob and Dave, I know you're both very interested in that project, and just know that it is moving along, but it is slow going.
Did you get a price?
The price is still the original price that was quoted to us, which is roughly $53,000, but with the municipal fiber grant and the ARPA funds, the town is not paying much.
Because I think the guess was 50-ish.
Yes.
So
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a really great. I'm looking forward to the project itself won't take long to implement, but it's just the logistics leading up to that. And other than that, I think the board caught earlier. Natalia's been promoted to assistant planner, so I don't think we actually give her those congratulations. So congrats, Natalia. And we are currently working. The TA's office is working to fill the office assistant role, which the goal is to have that position shared with Concom. So unfortunately, until we get that third person in, we're still kind of, we're moving at, we're doing what we can, but yeah, definitely hoping to get another staff member in soon once the negotiations for wages and whatnot with the union are finalized. So happy to answer any questions about anything specific. I'm sure, as I always kind of provide this disclaimer that I'm forgetting something because there's a lot going on, but happy to answer anything or give him more information.
Any questions at this point? Well, it is now 7:30, so we can officially open our public hearings. We'll circle back to other business after we're done.
I don't, well, we might, I don't think we're gonna do much with
I
correspondence.
suspect there won't be much, but we'll
Yeah.
circle back to those items after our public hearings. So we'll begin with a new request for special permit and site plan approval at 8 Stratton Road.
Pursuant to sections 1.5.7 and 1.3.3 of the Town of Grafton zoning bylaws, the planning board will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 9th, 2024, commencing at 7:30 p.m. in Conference Room A of the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, to consider an application for a special permit and site plan approval request for an accessory apartment located at 8 Stratton Road, shown as Grafton Assessors Map 92, Lot 12. Said property is located in a low-density residential R40 zoning district. The applicant owner is Beth Golden. A copy of the application plan is available for public inspection at the planning department during regular business hours or on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov on the Planning Department Development Projects webpage.
Okay, Fiona, can you kick this off?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So, this application is for an accessory apartment at 8 Stratton Road. I do see that the applicant is online, so I will give Beth an opportunity after my spiel to say a couple of words, about the application. This is a pretty straightforward one. They're proposing to construct a 2-story, 980 square foot addition in the form of an attached accessory apartment with a great room above. So the accessory apartment itself will be 672 square feet. The deck that is currently on the house will be removed and rebuilt on the side of the home, serving as a secondary means of egress. The apartment is slated to have one bedroom with a closet, kitchen, and a bathroom and small laundry area. The space is to be occupied by the applicant's mother-in-law. There will be an internal door between the main home and the accessory apartment via there's a basement. There's a door in the basement that will connect the accessory apartment to the main home. And there will also be 2 other doors, a door to the rear and to the side of the accessory apartment leading into the outside to the lawn. The building department and myself coordinated on this. They had no issues or comments or concerns. I also did not have any comments or concerns. My kind of summary is listed in my memo. So I think, again, pretty straightforward. No other findings to note from myself, but I'll let Beth add anything that I missed.
Beth, do you have anything you want to add? Any questions or comments from the board?
I had one question, Dave, regarding the parking. How do we address the parking for the accessory apartment?
The parking spaces that are being provided here, they're going to utilize the existing driveway. I believe there's a
Sorry. Like that.
they'll utilize the existing driveway as well as the garage, the 2-car garage that I believe is already in existence. Beth, maybe you can just
Yeah, we have a 2-car garage and a large driveway, long driveway, but we use 2-car garage.
And Beth, if I may, just confirming that there's only 1 car being added with this application?
Correct. Yes, just one.
So there is it goes back to the previous similar application that came in, wherein the cars are not, the car parking is not spilling over to the streets and it's not part of the streets out there. how do we, and I know we talked about enforcement, but how do we guarantee that there won't be additional cars that would be added and that won't spill over? I know we talked about the long driveway, everything stays within the property and nothing spills over to the streets.
Yeah, no one would park in the street. It's my mother-in-law. She just parks in the driveway. We have a large driveway. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there would absolutely never a reason to park in the street.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments from the board? I'll just note, it's probably fairly obvious, but the special permit here is specifically for the accessory apartment and not for the overall addition. You know, the addition as a whole is a building permit with the building department.
Move we close the hearing and direct staff to prepare or to draft a decision.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Wood?
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger?
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman?
Aye.
Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. The staff will draft a decision for the board to deliberate on at a subsequent meeting.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Any questions, Beth, before you go?
No, I don't think so. When would that next meeting be?
So, Mr. Chair, I'll answer. So, yeah, Beth, I'll draft the decision and have it ready for the 23rd. And that will be that won't be at a 7:30 start time. That's at 7 o'clock.
Okay,
Final agenda will be set by the chair, but
Yep.
action item at 7. Actually.
Yep.
Okay.
Just
Done.
in case you don't already know what to expect, the board will approve, presumably the board will approve the decision. I have no
Okay.
reason, based on what I've heard, I have no reason to doubt that. And then there will be a 20-day appeal period after the decision is filed with the town clerk.
Yes.
okay. All right, thank you for explaining that, because I don't have any idea.
Any other, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact the office.
Okay, all right, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Feel free to pester Fiona.
Thanks. Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next hearing, we have a request for determination of completeness at Highfields of Grafton.
Right. Pursuant to section 3.3.12.3b of the Town of Grafton Subdivision Rules and Regulations, the planning board will hold a public meeting on Monday, September 9th, 2024, commencing at 7:30 p.m. in Conference Room A at the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, to consider the final inspection and determination of completeness for McGill Drive, Phase 1, Station 0+0 to 46+74.92, 200+0 to 203+55.04, 48+49.15 to 49+44. Silver Spruce Drive, Station 0+0 to 4+70, and Manor Hill Drive, Station 0+0 to 3+79.19, as laid out by the Highfields of Grafton Subdivision Plan. A copy of the application plan is available for public inspection at the Planning Department and/or the Office of the Town Clerk during regular business hours or on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov on the Planning Department Development Projects webpage.
Fiona, can you start this one off?
Sure. So, thanks, Mr. Chair. So, I don't have too much. We've been working a lot with the applicant for this to make sure that the requirements of the worksheet are fulfilled. They've also produced, the board might have seen, road acceptance plans and other paperwork for the eventual laying out of the road that will go before the select board. So yeah, this is really more, I think some members of the board are very familiar with this process. Some it might be a little bit newer. We don't get a lot of determination of completeness applications because subdivisions take some time to construct. So, yeah, I have no concerns. I did a site, I point this out in my memo. I did a site walk with, Graves Engineering, the DPW director and the conservation agent. And there was no issues. A written pieces of documentation following that site visit were uploaded into the packet. There was a one, you know, the subdivision has been kind of previously applied for a determination of completeness not too long ago, and they were essentially waiting on their certificate of compliance with the Conservation Commission. But at their at a recent hearing, they were able to receive a partial certificate rather, and have that recorded at the registry. And they will tackle the remainder during phase 2 of the subdivision, which will be a future determination of completeness request. So that was really the only outlying issue, and everything else, you know, the applicant did a good job in getting us what we need in a timely manner. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any additional questions. And I think that there is somebody here representing the application.
Yeah.
Good evening, I'm Byron Andrews with Andrews Survey and Engineering and Deprete Engineering. If you have any questions or if you want me to go over it in any detail, I'll be happy to.
I was here on my computer, I was having trouble following which parts of the subdivision we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to understand by reading the road stationing. Basically, in a more digestible terms, between Providence Road and Old Upton Road, the part of McGill Drive that goes up through there, the cul-de-sac that goes off of that road, and when there's a portion of McGill Drive where there's like a hairpin and it loops out. Where it loops out is phase 2, and we're not applying for that right now. And the part that connects it is Manor Hill. So basically, if you were to drive from Providence Road to Old Upton Road directly, it's all that roadway and the cul-de-sacs that go off of that part.
So this is the largest part of it. So I remember that we had 2, but it's been quite a while since I saw a map. Okay.
So as I understand it, Fiona, basically all of the requirements for the determination of completeness for this section of the subdivision have been fulfilled.
Yes, that's correct.
Any other discussion, questions from the board? Since this is a public hearing, is there anything, any questions from the public about this?
Public meeting.
Public meeting? Yeah, what?
Minor
yes.
difference.
Technically, public meeting, not a hearing. But it is public, which means if there is anybody from the public who wishes to question or comment, now would be the time to raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised either here in the room or on Zoom.
I move that we do what we need to approve this.
I believe the requirement is that the board vote to issue to approve the determination of completeness, something like that.
That
Yeah.
sounds right.
What-
I'll second it.
That, just what I said, yeah.
Whatever Bob said, Justin seconded. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Wood,
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger,
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman,
Aye.
Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. That takes care of this stage of the process. Now you're on to the select board
That's correct.
to approve, to vote to lay out, and then maybe town meeting to accept it.
Yeah, I believe after that, we come back to you.
Yes.
Once we get a vote from the select board, and then go on to the town vote.
It's been a while since we've had a
Yeah.
completion of a subdivision to deal with.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Did you mention that we have a request for continuation of this?
I did not mention that in advance.
I don't know that we have any.
I don't know either, but that's just as a reminder. If anybody is here for the project at 12 Centennial Drive and other locations, colloquially known as the UPS project, the applicant has requested a continuation of that hearing to whatever.
I think it was.
Well, we're gonna have to,
Yes. Yes, actually, I
October
actually do have that right in my notes here. Why don't I read my notes? The applicant has requested a continuance to October 7th.
Yes. Sorry, I was just pulling it up myself.
So, as long as we're on the topic,
yeah, did he make a motion? I'll make a motion that we grant the applicant's written request to, continue until
October 7th.
October 7th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion of the motion? Again, this is for the UPS project. With no further discussion, Mr. Wood,
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger,
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman,
Aye.
Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. We will see that project again next month. Where was I?
Grist Mill.
All right, we have a request for determination of completeness for the Grist Mill Village subdivision. Basically the same process we just discussed with respect to Highfields, except this is for the entire subdivision, which basically consists of one road,
Yes.
one a T-shaped road with two, a turnaround at each end of the bar of the T.
Yes. Yes. So, pretty.
Notice.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Pursuant to section 3.3.12.3b of the Town of Grafton Subdivision Rules and Regulations, the planning board will hold a public meeting on Monday, September 9th, 2024, commencing at 7:30 p.m. in Conference Room A at the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, to consider the final inspection and determination of completeness for Millstone Drive from Pleasant Street, Station 0+0 to 4+21, and Millstone Drive cul-de-sacs, Station 0+0 to 4+28, as laid out by the Grist Mill Village Definitive Plan, Conventional Development, Grafton, Massachusetts Layout and Materials Plan. A copy of the application plan is available for public inspection at the Planning Department and/or the Office of the Town Clerk during regular business hours or on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov on the Planning Department Development Projects webpage.
Okay, Fiona, get this started.
Yes, sure. So, thanks, Mr. Chair. So, very similar to what we just went through. We have a request for a determination of completeness for Millstone Drive, also known as the Grist Mill Village subdivision. In terms of the application materials that were submitted in regards to the checklist, I didn't have any concerns or any issues. I will pull that up now. Sorry, I should have had that pulled up before. The applicant has been working on, actually has finalized most of their paperwork as well for the eventual layout hearing with the select board, including legal descriptions and road acceptance plans, which also are uploaded into the record for this. But yeah, in terms of the actual submittal requirements, we had no issues. We've been working with them pretty diligently for the past few months to make sure that everything is submitted, and yeah, I have no issues with this from an administrative standpoint. And I know that there is a representative here again as well for this application, so if they want to add on anything that I missed.
Or nothing?
Come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be at a mic.
Steve Benincasa, Greg Snyder, part of the builders. We've been working on this for quite a while. We finished this road actually right around COVID, so it's been about 4 years the road's been completed, and we've been diligently trying to go through the steps. It's a process in town that we've been working on, so we think we're there, as the town planner has mentioned. So we think the road came out really nice. We had a couple punch list items in the beginning. We addressed those right away, so I think we should have a clean bill of health.
Again, just to confirm that all of the requirements for a determination of completeness have been fulfilled and documented.
Yes, that's correct.
We ended up satisfying the issue about lighting, the street lighting, and lights in the
Yes.
We had
yards.
to add a light?
Yeah, we put 3 lights in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we were going back and forth because the selectmen had said one thing and you guys had something else, and we were caught in kind of the middle of that. I don't remember how we actually, that's why I'm glad we're Greg here, because he remembers.
Yes, I remember that confusion 2 or 3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, and we ended up putting a light on both turnarounds.
Yep. Yeah, there was an issue about relying on individual homeowners' yard lights and that not being satisfactory.
Well, in a lot of towns, they just require the light at intersection, so, and that's what the selectmen had said, so we thought that was a done deal. We didn't realize that you were that adamant about the cul-de-sac, so, whatever we have to do, we'll do.
Yep, I think, not to get too far into past history, but I do remember that the board's initial approval did call for the lights at the end of the cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, and then we went to selectmen, and they said just the intersection,
Yeah.
so we thought that was the ruling authority, but you guys are the ruling authority, so we did what we had to
Yep,
do.
anyway, that's been resolved.
You gotta get
Yes.
past us before you get to them.
Well, we were hoping you'd be on the same page.
Yeah,
Well,
sometimes different boards think differently.
Yep. Anyway,
Anything else?
how many of their members are old planning board members? Probably just one now. But, and when they did it, I don't know who knows.
Yeah, I don't remember who all was
Yeah,
there at the
never
time.
mind, never mind.
But I know 2 current select board members are former planning board members.
2?
Yeah,
Okay.
Matt and Craig.
so we have a substantial bond that's been with the town for quite a while, and we'd like to get that money back also.
Well,
I mean,
that's
this
a
road has
separate
been done.
process.
Yeah, I think that's a separate request for the release of the bond, but
Yes, so it's part, once the determination of completeness process is finalized, you have your layout hearing and town meeting accepts the road, then that's when the release will occur,
So we can't get any money released at all until the town meeting is done?
right?
Why would that be?
That's our regulations.
So no.
Because what happens if town meeting doesn't accept it?
Right.
Then we own the road. We'll sell it to you.
I didn't write the rules. I don't think any of us wrote the rules.
no, we didn't write the rules. But yeah, I mean,
We try to know what they are. That's
That's-
about the best we can do.
So generally, in other areas we work with, if the road is all complete, they released all the money except for maybe a small portion, maybe like $10,000. There's $150,000 sitting there. So is the
Well, we
board's position, you
we
can't
couldn't do
release-
it tonight anyway, because we don't have bond release
All right, so
on the agenda.
we'll forward through, but as far as,
Yep, talk to her.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It might be a process to reduce the amount of withheld bond, but that's usually reviewed by staff and the lawyers, I believe.
Yes.
Finance
Yeah, I think it's enough to say for right now that bond release is a separate process from the determination of completeness.
I don't think there's any question that the road is complete, but
Yeah, it's yeah. In all likelihood, obviously, from the determination of completeness, the people involved in that reviewing that are satisfied that it looks good.
and who would that be that has to determine that?
Well, that's all the people that sign off and
Yeah, all the departments.
Well, I can answer that, Mr. Chair. So we do, and then we basically make sure everything is finalized, and we present it to the board. The board verifies and makes their official determination, which is a requirement, and then, goes through the standard processes that I just outlined for town meeting. So
No, the
that's, it's all part of, it's part of the very long process for,
Yeah,
for road acceptance.
I know the road acceptance goes to town meeting, but other than that, haven't we already gone through the whole process to determine that everything is complete with those letters?
Yep, this is, so the board will make their determination this evening, and that's the process.
Then you have to select board and then back to us in the town meeting.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, just to be clear, there's a determination of completeness is a planning board process that precedes your layout hearing with the select board. So you need that to go to the select board. And then once you're done with that here, it's determined complete. There should be no issues. Select board shouldn't have a problem. I forward the determination to the select board for their hearing.
And we haven't been through that process yet?
You're in it.
Oh, we
You're in
are.
it.
Say-
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why you're here now.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we have to go back before the selectmen now? Is that what you're saying?
For for the laying out of the road, that's the next step.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
they are by law handle that.
Okay.
So after this meeting, will we be able to do apply for a partial release of the bond?
I can
Check on that. I
Yeah.
believe
You're not gonna,
that's-
you're not gonna get the answer tonight.
Yeah.
You have to work with her,
But, check on that.
because there's a bottom, bonds get reduced, but there's a minimal,
Yeah,
a minimum amount, and I can't tell you now where that stands on this, but a minimum amount that's retained until it's released. She's gotta work that out with you.
Yeah, I can just,
We can't help you tonight,
What do you think?
okay?
What do you think is a reasonable time for that?
I can't hear you.
I said, what do you think is a reasonable time frame for that?
Excuse me?
Well, town meeting,
yeah,
Somebody say something?
Natalia may be able to speak to that.
Oh.
Natalia,
20% of 100% cost is 150,000. We have reduced it to the minimum that it can be reduced at this time until after town meeting, at which time we can release all of it.
yep,
So we're at the minimum?
yeah, you're at
Yes.
Natalia would know, she keeps track of that stuff. Just to quote the regulations here, this is from the subdivision rules and regulations. Upon acceptance of the road and utilities by town meeting vote, any monies held by the board shall be returned forthwith to the developer, which is just, that's the regulation that says what you were told a little while ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we've reduced the bond to the minimum we're allowed to, and as soon as town meeting accepts the roads, the rest of it goes back to you.
Okay.
That's where we are. And like Bob said, we didn't write these rules, but that's,
No, but they're a little punitive as far as 150,000. It's been out there for 4 years with the completion of the road. I don't think it's unreasonable for me to ask. And I know
Yeah.
you have your bylaw. Is it possible or is it impossible? It's impossible.
we got a law.
It's a law.
we're not allowed to waive that.
Okay. Okay. That's too bad.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything, since this is a public meeting, any comments, questions from the public? Mr. Kaufman?
So, wanted to address the issue that I've come before this board, also spoken with the town planner, select board, an ongoing issue, since 2021 about the lack of maintenance, of the property that directly abuts my property, 96 Pleasant Street, and dozens of times I've brought it up to the planning board, town administrator, Ms. Coughlin's predecessor, the select board, and the issue was never addressed, nor is the move forward issue that plantings, fencing, and other items were installed abutting my property that there are no maintenance plans for. I have spent at least $3,500 maintaining that property since 2021. I've probably repaired that fence that abuts my property a dozen times. That's not even reflected here, and that's still an open issue. And as the last time I was here, I was advised by this board to come back during this determination hearing and raise my concerns.
Again, with respect to the determination, just to reiterate, all of the formal requirements, everything that's spelled out as being a requirement for the determination of completeness has been met, fulfilled.
Yes, the submission requirements for a determination of completeness are fulfilled. Yes.
And is there,
But with that being said, obviously this is a public meeting where we can hear, concerns.
yep. Whether those concerns are grounds for the board to withhold determination of completeness, I believe our council has spoken to that.
Right. Yes, no, we can't legally withhold it if the application meets, if the completeness application is if all the requirements are met.
So there is an ongoing concern that Mr. Kaufman has. And upon acceptance of the road by the town, should that go forward, the select board has their hearing, which I don't think necessarily addresses this particular concern.
Correct.
There is a town meeting vote to accept the road. Once the town accepts the road, then the screening becomes the town's property.
Correct.
And then it's between the
Myself.
abutters and the town to deal with any questions.
That's correct. At that point, up until that point, there still is the outstanding issue that property was not maintained since 2021. And basically, I've had to pay to maintain property that abuts my property, which was a responsibility of the developer under the special permit that was issued.
Any comments from the board on that? I don't know what, I don't know what else I can say, or we can say.
I've come back here at your request or your guidance, because the dozens of other times I've raised this, nothing has been addressed.
Yeah.
So,
And
Well, it's all been addressed in the sense that council tells us we can't do anything. But we addressed it. And that's,
yeah, but
there's a difference between what council says can be addressed and what's proper to be done.
so we're gonna do something that's against the law
No.
because we don't like what
no,
council told us?
No, it's not asking anybody to do anything that's not against the law.
part of the issue here is the question of what constitutes the required maintenance. And as has been previously noted, there were no agreements made about what maintenance activities the developer and ultimately the town would perform. There was nothing in writing about that, so there's effectively no standard to which we can hold that, with the exception of the general standard, the standard of care, so to speak, is expressed in the subdivision rules and regulations is the developer, until it's handed over to the town, and I pointed this out before, the developer is responsible for doing the same maintenance that the town would do. Nothing more, nothing less. And the town's policy on that, to the extent that the town has a written policy, is expressed in the letter from the town administrator from last October, which basically says roughly what the town does and does not do.
Sure. So
And that, if anything, would be the standard of care to which the developer would have been held responsible.
honestly, I think it was a responsibility of this board to put forth some requirements for a maintenance at that point, since it was part of a special requirement, wasn't made aware to any of the abutters otherwise.
For better or worse, nothing was put in writing.
I'm sorry.
For better or for worse, nothing was put in writing. We
Correct.
can't go back and change that.
Cannot go back and change it, and that's why I am here. Don't know what the developer's response is to the comments.
To say it was never maintained is false.
It was maintained
By-
twice,
By anybody but him.
but it was
It
other.
may not be up to your standard. Your lawn is immaculate.
I'm not-
Your property is gorgeous.
Cutting the lawn and the shrubs
Yes,
once a year would have been nice.
more than once a year.
It was not.
And
Respectfully, I'll
I'll
disagree with you.
disagree with that.
Okay. Because
Everybody should
numerous
vote for the
times
sheriff.
the town planner,
Given where we are in this process, going forward, we're anticipating in just a few weeks for town meeting to accept this road and it to become the town's responsibility.
the town has already decided they're not maintaining anything. That was pretty clear. So now we've got 900 feet of fencing, shrubbery, that'll just sit there. And that was not by me, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Coughlin, the town administrator said, we're not maintaining it, the DPW said, we're not maintaining it. So would he just bulldozer it?
In
Gonna do the
principle,
same thing they do with all the other 100 and some odd miles of road in town. Like in front of my house where they do nothing. I know all about do nothing. I know all about roads full of potholes too.
So when the fence falls over, do nothing. And
I don't know. If it falls onto the town side, they'll probably clear it out.
the town, the fence is in the right of way. The town owns the fence. The town has the discretion to do whatever it wants with the fence.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the town offered to remove the fence and that's all we can do. I
Well,
know that's not agreeable.
no, because the fence was put in there to provide a delineation, between public and private. That's why that was put in there, and that was one of the requirements for both myself and the other abutter, as part of the special permit that was put forth.
It's not part of the special
it-
permit.
The special permit spoke to screening at a location to be agreed between Mr. Kaufman and the developer.
And it was never,
The special permit did not speak at all to the fence that's on the other side of the road.
correct. So if we just stick to my side of the road, understand that fence nor that screening was approved by me. And if the town can provide something where I did, I will shut up and walk away. I know that was brought up. They were installing it when I came home from work one day. I raised that to Ms. Coughlin's predecessor, that was not agreed to by me, and it was installed.
But we're basically spinning our wheels.
We are. And if the determination here is you got schnookered, too bad, have a nice day, and the town's not going to maintain it, the planning board and the select board should just tell me that. Don't appreciate that, having been a resident here for over 20 years in this town. The way this entire situation has been handled, or I should say not handled. But if that's the outcome, just tell me, black and white. I won't waste my time. I won't waste the board's time. I won't waste the select board's time.
You know where you missed? The day you saw it being installed,
Yes,
you should have come and said, we didn't have that agreement
I did.
that you require.
I did.
Who do you tell that? Who did you say
Emails
that?
were sent into the town
No,
planner, to
who
the
did
select
you-
board.
Who did you speak to?
No speaking. It was in emails to Miss Coughlin's predecessor. I will guarantee it. Okay, because he came to the site and looked at it, and I said I did not agree to this, and he said it's installed, and once it is installed and the property is completed and turned over, it'll be the town's property. So you don't have a say in the matter.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Well, that's exactly where we are. There's been a lack of transparency, a lack of willingness to address this issue, and a lot of unanswered emails and so on.
I think that we've addressed this very extensively. You know the answers. You keep making the complaint, knowing the answers.
So tell
And
me.
you're gonna keep making the complaint until
So tell me what. So
You-
last.
lawyers.
This isn't worth my time for a lawyer. okay, or else I would have. The reason I'm here again, and the reason I was here the last time is this planning board asked that I come to this determination, or what this meeting's called, completeness hearing, and raise the issue again. And that's why I am here.
I don't think we requested, I think we
You
suggested,
suggested.
and you,
Yeah.
okay.
Cons-
I'm ready to close this
Okay.
and move on.
Consider the issue to have been noted for the record. Sure. And
Tough luck.
there's kind of a sense of, I'm not sure if it's frustration all around, but 2020 hindsight, I think we can all see that certain things probably ought to have been done differently a long
Completely
time
agree.
ago.
By the town, I would agree with that.
We are where we are.
We are where we are.
If I may, Mr. Chair, there's a Q&A submission. I can read it.
Yes.
So Brian Langevin said, findings 16 of the board's decision ends with the following. The applicant agreed to work with the abutter to provide replacement screening in a mutually agreed upon location at the time of construction. Mr. Kaufman does not appear to have agreed to a screening plan in accordance with this finding.
I'm sorry. What is that?
Mr. Kaufman does not appear to have agreed to a screening plan in accordance with this finding.
That's what
I-
that's what a commenter said on.
Yeah, it's just a public comment that was
Oh,
submitted.
Yeah,
Got it.
That's right. That's a comment from a member of the public who was attending this meeting.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and that's basically true. Yeah. Like I said, in 2020 hindsight, we could have documented an understanding a whole lot better than it turns out to have been done. Steps
Absolutely.
were missed.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Ms. Coughlin.
Yeah, if I may, I just want to add for the record that, a landscaping plan that outlines this level of specificity for trimming shrubs and mowing, I mean, that's never been from prior applications for subdivisions that I've seen, to that level of detail is not a standard piece of the process or a requirement in our regs. I think I want, for the record, just to be clear that it's general maintenance. Things are worked out during public hearing processes, like the finding for the screening and providing replacement screening and having the conversation, kind of what I just read. But having a, shrub trimming schedule that's
No, it's
very
basic.
specific
It's-
is not
no.
what is
that's
done.
Please don't make it out to be that. It's basic. Come by, cut the lawn once a month, okay, before it gets to be 2-3 feet tall, and come by, cut the shrubs once a year. That's what it is.
Yeah, I should point out that the town does not mow lawns in the town's right of way. That is just not done. It is expected that the property owner, if their lawn extends into the town's right of way, the property owner will take care of mowing the lawn. That is what is normally done. So the town never mows lawns. The town will occasionally clear out brush, as they do like once a year on the road that Bob and I live on. When the brush starts getting out into the road, the town will come by once a year and cut it back. But mowing lawns, no, the town does not do that on on the right of way in front of a homeowner's private property.
But as I understand it, there is a new town requirement for subdivision maintenance moving forward that I believe Mr. Broussard had put forth.
I didn't follow that.
I think that's referring to the town administrator's letter from
Yeah,
last fall.
He's gonna treat subdivisions the same as he does all the other roads. And, for example, most of a subdivision has town land between the pavement and the property line. Usually got, it's a tree lawn, usually got grass in it. And 95% of that, 99% of that is taken care of by the people who think it's their lawn. You just happen to have a particular case. If you hadn't wanted the separation, it'd be part of your lawn, and You'd mow it and, the same as you do the rest of your lawn and it'd be fine.
Sure.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'd like to go
Move
home
on.
tonight.
Don't know what more we
No.
can say at this point.
No. Agreed.
I'll move that the board finds this is complete, as we did this last hearing.
Second,
Move to second that the board find that what Justin said.
Yes.
The determination of completeness will be approved. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Wood,
Aye.
Mr. Hessinger,
aye.
Mr. Venkatraman,
Aye.
Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. Fiona will
Thank
take
you
care of
very
that
much.
paperwork. And on to the next steps. Alrighty. We have one more public hearing, a continuation of the request for modification of special permit site plan approval at 18 to 22 Donahue Lane.
Mr. Chairman, good evening.
Good evening.
Attorney Todd Broder on behalf of the applicant and Mr. McCura sitting next to me. So I think you know we're here for a continued public hearing. We've been before you a number of times. My colleague Matt Eckel had been before you, and I'm pinch hitting for him tonight. Since we last met, and I don't know if you have any need for administrative before I start, but
Well, no.
okay.
Tell us what's new.
Just before, yeah, so what's new really is a plan has been submitted for a cul-de-sac turnaround, and it outlines essentially the plan would mirror town requirements for such a cul-de-sac, so that will allow for trash trucks, utilities, et cetera, to make, you know, an appropriate sweep in the cul-de-sac and not be trying to back up and down Donahue Lane. So that is really the biggest change and really the update since we last spoke. I know you had a number of hearings about conditions and, you know, trying to get to an amenable place, and hopefully we're gonna try to wrap that up tonight. So beyond the plan and the conditions that were also suggested, you know, that's I think what the discussion is for tonight. So we don't have anything more formal than that.
Anything, Fiona?
Yep, we'll add to that, Mr. Chair. So yeah, the way that we left the last hearing was there was a request made by the board to submit the turnaround plan, which was submitted, and coupled with that, the applicant provided a set of refined final conditions for the board's consideration. The board might have seen in the record that these final list of conditions were the result of a dialogue, a kind of ongoing dialogue with the abutters who had some notable concerns, and this is, you know, obviously the challenges associated with having residential zoning district immediately abutting an OLI district are challenging, but you know, I commend the abutters and the applicant for coming together with a kind of refined list. So yeah, there was no other outliers for this particular hearing or notes that I had, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
It's probably just what I've got to look at these drawings. I couldn't relate the location exactly relative to the property lines and whose land is this going to be on?
It's entirely on the McCura parcel.
On
Yes.
your property?
Yes.
Because I
So
can't
yeah,
tell.
I don't know. Do you have the colored version?
I have color, but I don't know what the colors. You know, I've got a red dot dash line, and the green is the 50-foot radius.
The green's the green is essentially
Right away.
the cul-de-sac, right? And
But I don't see how the property lines work or.
so if you're
Property lines in yellow, Mr. Hassinger.
In yellow?
Yeah.
I don't think I see yellow. I see
You have to squint.
green. No. The
Yellow's
closest to
very-
yellow that I've got, except for an arrow over here, is the green.
So if you're if you're looking at what's labeled proposed turnaround, you see it's marked in the center of the cul-de-sac there. That's the green we're referring to. Just below that, on the bottom part of the circle there is where I think the yellow of importance is probably denoted. And then it makes a right, and it goes, deeper into the site, to the right there.
Okay.
And then it then it juts up, and you see the neighboring properties are all property lines outlined in red.
And you currently have a fence and a gate, right?
Correct.
And I don't know where that currently is, and I don't know what you're planning to do on this plan going forward.
That'll be removed.
Just remove it.
Fiona, do we?
I think that's what's needed. I'm not sure.
Anything else, Bob? Justin?
Is there any need for us to have Graves look at this before we close the hearing, just to call it out, the turnaround plan?
I can't make that final determination. I don't believe so, but just based on the testimony that we've heard during throughout this public hearing process, that turning is occurring. Correct me if I'm wrong already on the site in this designated area. It's just memorialized in a site plan.
Okay.
I will just highlight that the applicant in prior exhibits had relayed that they weren't planning on submitting a site plan, but did provide these additional materials. But yeah, I think actually, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, maybe give the applicant an opportunity to just confirm what I said, confirm or deny what I just said.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think to further the point, we're certainly amenable to a condition of the approval that the cul-de-sac be as denoted on the plan, and as it is noted on the plan. I mean, it talks exactly about it pulls actually from your regulation, so it's
Yep.
meeting the requirements of the regulation.
That would work for me. That'd be good.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I have is, I know we talked about at our last meeting with this, Mr. McCura, the road maintenance. The updated conditions don't call out like potholes or anything like that. Like I said, you mentioned that was what you had considered it to be. So when we do write our conditions, is the bottom line I'm looking at is adding something that says, calls out like pothole maintenance. Is that still amenable? And that just want to make sure that that we're on the same page with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was an oversight. We'll make that correction.
Thank you.
Or you can add it, when you're.
Yeah, during the draft.
Just one other little explain me on the plan. I mentioned a little bit. There's across just near the bottom of the cul-de-sac and going across and then out is a red line that's 2 dots dash, 2 dots dash, and it has a sort of a little curve point near the edge of the cul-de-sac. What does that line mean?
I'd have to go back and look to see what layer that is. That was a carryover from the former submission.
Okay. I mean,
I believe it was a setback from the Hollywood Drive abutters. I just don't have that dimension.
when I learned to do this, you used 4H pencils and a T-square.
And it got done quicker.
Anything else from the board? Justin, Bob, Prabhu?
I'm good.
Move, we
Greg?
close.
No, nothing. Anything from the public?
Oh, okay.
Public hearing, we probably want to give the public a chance to speak.
Bill Fairbanks, 4 Dudley Lane. You sound like a pretty much is being taken care of, but I do have a couple questions. I'm not an engineer, so like Bob says, you can't read this. You can't. What do the lines mean? And how far in is this turnaround from where they would drive in? Is it 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, 40 feet away from where they would drive in?
It's 100 feet from the inside property bound at 14 and 18. 50-foot
So
radius,
from
100 foot,
14.
100-foot diameter. From the corner of 18 and
I'm
14.
not worried about the diameter. You know what Donahue Lane is, so if somebody's coming in, are they taking a left to go to this turnaround?
They're driving straight and they're turning around.
They're driving straight?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's why I said it's hard to read this small print in these numbers. I didn't take this up in engineering, I'm sorry, but, I didn't. So, and if I'm not mistaken, you said the gate's coming down?
Yeah.
So then that's the opening that they'll have to get in. They don't have to be any signs or anything telling them where to turn around.
The cul-de-sac's open.
I'm sorry?
The cul-de-sac is open. I mean, that's the whole idea.
Yep. Yep. Okay, that's pretty much what I had. All right, thank you very much, the board, and Mr. Carr. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
The solid red lines are property lines.
The solid red lines, excuse me, to the right are all property lines.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few miscellaneous reds that are
No, but
test
that-
pits or something like, from,
There's a red line coming across here.
yeah.
And there's a little thing like that, just to your side of it. And that's the last, okay, yes. Map
The
26
last-
parcel, whatever.
Right, the 14 Donahue is
Right,
sort
that-
of outlined. It's got a
the-
red bottom to it.
That's basically where you end.
That's 14 Donahue is, red,
About
denoted by a red on the
right,
bottom,
and- but
red on the
that's
side.
where you abut 14.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. This is, sorry, Karen Merrill, 15 Hollywood Drive. First, I wanted to say thank you guys for, really working with us to try to get this to work out. We really do appreciate it. The concern, I didn't notice on the exhibits that sheet of things that they put up as the new list, and I know you're going to add the potholes to it, that thing there. So I was trying to read it quickly, standing up in the corner. Is there anything on there about storage of material that would cause odor? And the only reason I bring that up is we're just so heightenedly aware of this issue now because of feedback energy. If they subcontract to somebody and it's a landscaper that brings in fertilizer, that's going to smell like crazy. And I'm a little bit concerned that we don't have that one nailed. I think the rest of my neighbors also are concerned about that as well. So I don't know if that can go in the special permit, but we just don't want another situation like what happened with, I know you're not going to make dog food on the property, but, just calling it out because it's our last chance, so.
I thought we were talking about that for 14. This is 14.
Yeah, this is 14.
And where is the edge of 14? The thing that looks like it might be a fence?
Black line.
Yeah, and then what happens over here?
And then I can't see the line there.
Yeah, because they aren't there.
So,
See why I had trouble with this?
Yes, this.
I'll say to your point, I would be in favor of something we could do in the decision to try to mitigate another impact like Feedback Earth has given the town. I don't know
There's a yellow.
I don't know offhand what would be possible.
Maybe
with
on your
regards to the
computer.
decision. I don't know if you have
I
thoughts.
can barely see it.
Yeah,
Oh.
if I may, Mr. Chair, I know you're trying to read the
I'll
plan.
still try to read the plan.
Yeah, I
I-
appreciate the comment. I know that everyone is very concerned. This special permit refines the use as a contractor's yard, and the definition of that and what's allowed to be there will not emit any odors. But one of our special permit and criteria that we look at does encompass odor. So if the board, I think in terms by definition, there won't be anything, for lack of a better term, stinky more or less on the site. The applicant can confirm that, but I didn't.
Should there be some sort of an option to review, post-permit, when it's implemented? If there's a problem, that there's a possibility to come back to us to,
When a tenant's secured, like for when a tenant is secured.
no, well, tenants, yeah, but, you're talking about smelly, at any time, whoever it is.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a nuisance, we've had situations in the past, for example, like there's a light and the light isn't directing in the direction that was
Okay,
originally anticipated, and we require more.
Language in the decision that opens up, we can do what we need to do, have it.
Yeah, find some language that sort of works to address these, but potential future activities that,
We'd
maybe.
rather not have to have smells go through DE somebody or other in Boston. You're familiar with,
DEP?
DEP, isn't it? We have a matter.
Well,
on
does the town have a
Creeper Hill
discernible
Road.
standard does the town have a written standard somewhere in a general bylaw or elsewhere that discusses, odor?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that was one of the complicating factors with the Feedback Earth situation that we had, that they're processing materials that are extremely nuisance to quite a distance from their property. And that's something that I guess the state level, as well as, one of our representatives have been looking into. And I think for this, I would lean towards something that cites a nuisance as to an extent of beyond what the property is permitted to do as of the hearing, so to speak. So, like, rock crushing wouldn't suddenly trigger the nuisance review for us necessarily. I'm using that as an example. I'm not saying we're doing the rock crushing because they're not.
That's a terrible example.
Yeah, that's a terrible example. That's where my mind went. But just trucks going up and down the street. Whatever.
That's another, no.
Yeah, but
I think what I was looking for was like some sort of objective standard, only because those are the things that help us to understand on both sides how compliance is met, rather than a subjective, there's a pile of something that smells for a bit.
How do you measure that?
No, I understand.
That's the problem at Feedback Earth.
But for noise, for light, for all these other issues, there are discernible standards where we can say, hey, you can't do this, right? Everybody knows we can't do this. Smell, I would think there's something, but I also think Fiona's right with this particular use. Now, as defined as it is, contractor yard doesn't tend to have the offensive, it's not a, it's not one of those particular users that might.
If we can just have some opportunity for review, if necessary, if there are complaints,
Yeah, I think we've got a general idea here, and staff can in staff's copious spare time can spend hours and hours and hours, and realistically, we ought to be able to come up with some appropriate conditions that address potential concerns about nuisances that may arise in the site. As far as smell is concerned, that probably, to the extent that there are standards for that, they probably come under the state's air pollution standards.
Well, one thing, Mr. Chair, that I'll add, not to keep I don't want to go too far afield with keep talking about Feedback Earth, but there was, additional permits that were associated with odor that the town deferred to, the Mass DEP permit, and they were required to kind of comply with the specific odor requirements of that. Because, we do have in our bylaw a provision for, a criteria, that discusses odor very minimally, but we discuss it nonetheless. So I will work on it.
See what we can come up with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But that's all part of coming up with a draft decision.
Now, is there anybody else?
Any other, Bill?
Sorry. Bill Fairbanks again. Just a
Could
question.
you get to the mic, please?
I'm not loud enough. You're not loud enough.
No, because
I
then,
got you.
the people out in the world and on, watching the tape
I
get
know.
to hear you.
Just a question on this environment that you're talking about. Isn't it a health issue of having this odor in the air?
People keep saying that. I don't know about it.
But I understand because I've called before too,
Are you talking about feedback?
where the health department has gone out to check out what the problem is.
But
So
you-
to me, it's a health issue.
Yes, it is, or it can be.
If I may respond to that, Mr. Chair. So we have in our conditions a general condition that you're required, the applicant would be required, if granted the special permit modification, to comply with other local, state, and federal regs, including like Board of Health requirements. So it's captured in that. So they will be required to, and anything that's Board of Health standard, they will comply with.
Well, if the odor's coming through, it's gotta be a vapor of some sort that's bringing it through.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's person, child, adult, doesn't matter, has an asthma or that kind of an issue, that's gonna affect them. And I would think that, again, the health board should be stepping in here somewhere.
But that's a general thing. That's not a Grafton specific thing. And I think basically state and federal cover that ground, or that they're really the ones who are capable of covering that ground.
As far as potential issues of that general nature or category, the applicant here has a lot of other laws and rules that they have to follow. Without us really having to be explicit about that in the special permit, which was one of the things that Fiona was pointing out. There are, for things that affect people's health, there's the local Board of Health has a role to play in that. The state Department of Public Health, Department of Environmental Protection, when it comes to things that might be determined to be air pollution of various kinds. There's a lot that's outside of this board's purview that comes into play when you have situations that may affect people's health.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just to close the loop on it. So the special permit is for a contractor's yard. That's a specific definition, and the tenants will be required to comply with the conditions of this, which nothing says, organic matter is allowed, or would be something that would be under that definition of contractor's yard. So I don't think there's any risk of having organic material that might emit any odor here. But it's still a very valid concern. But I think that we cover it in terms of the use in the category that this applies to.
As I've read before, when people have complained about it, and maybe you can answer the question for me, by the time somebody from the health board gets there, the odor's gone. Because it could be 2 or 3 days before they can get there.
Are you talking about
I
feedback?
know they don't have somebody just standing on the corner.
Are you talking about feedback or this?
Well, if somebody from the neighborhood called the health board,
Well,
is what I'm saying is if somebody called the health board and they said, okay, we'll take a look at it.
you're talking about what's been going on with Feedback Earth.
Correct.
Yeah.
And by the time somebody gets-
there's more than enough out there about what's going on with that, and that's the state's power. And the state has, if they're going to shut those people down, they've got to have something really solid because there's millions of dollars involved. So they don't just go out and sniff or get a complaint. They have all this thing, they have to have objective stuff that'll help stand up in court and whatnot. And the same would come to play. I can't see how it comes in and what you're going to be doing. But, that's what I'm saying. State level controls, they have the expertise, personnel, equipment to do something, to make rules and to do something about them. Every town is not prepared to have, be able to make up its own, laws or rules about that, because you have to be able to measure. Anyway, there's already a state law.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have a hand raised on Zoom. Attendee identified as Steve Airy.
Allow him to
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thanks for your time. So this is Steve Airy at 13 Hollywood Drive. Just a few bullet points I want to go over. I have a few concerns about the proposed turnaround, which is news to me tonight. It is right behind my house, so I have concerns about if there's going to be lights installed there. The probably increase in traffic that's going to be right outside my window for 6 months out of the year. And so I would want to know more about that's going to look like before a decision's made.
You planning to put any lighting on it? No. And we've already talked about traffic. This doesn't change the traffic, does it?
This isn't meant to increase traffic. This is meant to be an accommodation for
Right.
the neighbors and the utility trucks and the trash trucks, etc., that utilize the street to help, the residents in particular. So this doesn't change anything in terms of the basics of the application and the use.
The UPS trucks and the Amazon trucks will be able to turn around.
Everybody.
Yeah, this is to accommodate traffic that already is on Donahue Lane.
Correct.
And now.
Okay. So there will be no additional lights installed there?
No.
Okay.
Nope, I don't see any lights on the plan.
No.
And no trees will be taken down for that?
This is already a fairly disturbed area.
Okay.
This area is already
okay.
utilized. It's the drive-in. It's already.
It's open
disturbed.
land.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Steve.
My next piece is I do have concerns about subletting and renting. In my opinion, and I'm sure our butters can agree, like the 2015 special permit has not been followed. And so I'm concerned about this being passed on to who knows who. And how diligent would the applicant be to pass these rules on? And is the town ready to hear complaints if things go south? Who would follow up? So on and so forth.
The zoning officer.
Yeah, well, first of all, the conditions of this permit apply to anybody to whom the applicant might happen to sublet or sublease or otherwise share their space with. So, and as I believe we've discussed, including some conditions in the permit that make that explicit, as we've done in I forget what we called it, a good neighbor policy or something like that, for another special permit where the applicant was expecting to lease out various portions of the facility. But that's something that I believe we had intended to include in the conditions, conditions sufficient to provide some teeth to ensure that all of the conditions granted to the applicant here will also apply to anybody else who occupies all or a portion of the applicant's property. Yeah, that is very important, that we make sure that it's clear to everybody involved that whoever it is that's using the property is using it in compliance with the conditions.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the last bullet listed on the proposed conditions we have.
To me, that just does not sound fair to abutters. It's almost as if you're teaching a child in school. You need to follow rules to be able to have exceptions granted or additional things granted. It's almost like it should be earned. And this 2015 special permit has not been followed, and illegal activities on site. And now we're just going to let them sublet it to whoever they want. And I just have major concerns being right behind the property. So just wanted to at least bring that up.
Understood.
Thank you.
Anything else, Steve?
No, that's all set for now. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mr.
Fiona.
Chair, I just want to make a point of clarification that something that was said, this is a year-round proposal. Just that was stated throughout the hearing. want that to be clear. It's not seasonal.
Are you likely to have less activity though? In the winter, or in the,
I think you may have been referring to the fact that the leaves are off the trees
Okay.
when it would be more visible. I think.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
For at least 6 months of the year, I can see right through to the property being so high up, with just the elevation that we have on Hollywood Drive.
Okay, thank you.
There's
Just
also,
wanted to make sure.
there's also a proposed berm, you know, in that area. I think that would be helpful, you know, for that purpose. If you look at some of the submitted materials over the course of time, I mean,
There's been
a number of them, but there's an elevation that shows the berm elevation vis-a-vis the top of the roof of the structure that's down there, et cetera. It's fairly useful, I think. Yeah, Fiona's bringing it up.
Thank you. I've looked at most of that material. I just have concerns about things being followed through on. It's all just from past evidence.
Okay, Karen?
Karen Merrill, 15 Hollywood. Follow up on the berm question, on the berm itself. When do you expect that to be finished and installed and put up and hydro-seeded and all that great stuff that you got to do for us?
As soon as we get a favorable decision, we'll jump right on it.
phase one is putting in the berm, is that the idea?
Try and capture the growing season this year if we can.
While there's a growing season left, right?
Yep.
You know, that'd be good, because then the rest of what you do will be better screened.
Since I seem to not need anything more, I will make the motion that we close the public hearing and direct staff to draft a decision.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Wood?
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger?
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman?
Aye.
Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. The hearing is closed. Staff will get to work drafting a decision, which I don't know if we can make any absolute promises, but we'll shoot for having a draft decision at our next meeting, September 23rd.
That would be great. Help us capture that growing season.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Thank you.
Alrighty. That completes our public hearing schedule. Circle back to correspondence. Anybody see anything in correspondence that caught their eye?
Other than the resignation. Moving on.
I did notice, the one thing in correspondence that caught my eye was a Chapter 61B withdrawal of a portion of the property at 85 Fitzpatrick Road.
Yes.
That will formally come to the board's attention at some point. Tonight it's only here as correspondence. But the board will no doubt be asked to take a position on that.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I actually am not 100% confident that the board can act on this, because if the land is taken out of chapter but is being used as a residence for an immediate family member, it doesn't. It's
Change of use?
It's automatically kind of processed.
That's right. This is one that does not trigger the town's right of first refusal, quite possibly.
Yes, that's correct. That's from my understanding of 61B and the rules around taking it out of that status. That's if it's for a residence.
Are you saying it's a question of change of use and doesn't include change of ownership?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think technically it could include change of ownership, but it's within a set defined list of owners that can take it without having the town's first refusal.
Right. Yeah, because the applicant is the applicant for blanking on a better term to use.
Landowner.
Thank you, landowner. But they are planning to allow they said their daughter to live behind them.
Yeah. Okay. In any case, it's only part of a parcel. The rest of it continues to be in 61B.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that parcel prioritization project not long ago. This parcel rated very low, like 8.75 out of a possible 24 in terms of the parcel prioritization. So even if we were looking at a right of first refusal, it does not look like something the town would be interested in.
What was the score for the highest?
I think the highest score was 21 something.
Okay.
I don't remember all the. Anyway, that's the only thing I saw in correspondence that caught my eye at all.
The only other thing I forget if we talked about before is there's the 40R letter of conditional approval we have in our correspondence.
Yep.
I don't think we need to get into it tonight, but just wanted to call it all that's there.
I can speak to that. It briefly. It's part of, so the letter of conditional eligibility was issued originally for the sub-district B for 5 Millennium Drive. So this is part of the formal approval, which came obviously very late, but the applicant was aware of the slow moving wheels of state government and proceeded accordingly. But this is this kind of closing the loop. The district, it's essentially just a confirmation that the sub-district B application that was approved at town meeting satisfied all of the 40R requirements, and in their eyes is approved. So it's a nice thing.
If I remember correctly, there is an incentive payment that comes with this.
Yes. So I am coordinating with the director of the program, Bill Rail, to set up and deal with that. There's a lot of some specifics involved in that I'm not 100% well versed in, because 40Rs, deal with them all the time. So, but I did raise that question with the state, and we'll try and get a more refined timeline for the board so that we can know how much we're, how much and when we can expect it. I think that there is some language in there. But I'm sorry, I can't.
We'll get what we're gonna get when we get it.
We'll get what the state allows us to get. Yes.
What they deem, what they dole out. It's coming up to an election. I would expect.
Yes, a more diplomatic way to word that. Yeah.
I wonder if anybody has any reports from.
Well, that was my next question. Any reports from planning board representatives on town committees and CMRPC? I don't have any. And I don't hear anybody else volunteering anything, so.
And there's nothing.
No other items that may lawfully.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second, but I was really hoping the motion to go past 10.
Yeah, well, that vote might be hard to get. I've heard discussions.
Well,
not among a quorum of the board.
There is a motion on the floor to adjourn. It is not debatable. Mr. Wood.
Aye.
Mr. Hassinger. Mr. Van Getraman.
Aye.
Mr. Robbins votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. We are adjourned.